We're up against Atletico Madrid at Celtic Park on Wednesday night in what could very well be make or break for our European ambitions this season. Before we get into it though, there's an ongoing issue brewing between the club and the supporters at this time, and complex as it is, it'd be remiss of us to ignore that this week. Wednesday night will be the first time that we've played at home since Saturday 7th October, the same day that sections of the Green Brigade held up banners stating Free Palestine and Victory to the Resistance. Most will know that on that very day, Hamas, a militant group in Palestine, launched a number of attacks on Israel that left hundreds dead and in turn led to the retaliation we're now seeing from the Israelis. On the back of the banners being displayed, Celtic as a club released a statement, the key messages which are as follows. Celtic is a football club and not a political organisation. One of our core values from inception is to be open to all, regardless of race, colour, politics or creed. That is why the club has always made clear that political messages and banners are not welcome at Celtic Park or any match involving Celtic. At a time of loss and suffering for many, it is entirely inappropriate for any group of individuals to use Celtic Park as a vehicle for such messages. James, we're a football podcast above all else, but this is an issue which in different ways affects all Celtic supporters. We're not here to debate the complex conflict that continues between Palestine and Israel, but what do you think of that statement that the club released first of all? And should someone want to display a Palestine flag on Wednesday night, should they be allowed to do so?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't stack up. You know, there's a big difference between a Palestine flag and the banner the Green Brigade put out. I thought the banner was wrong. I thought the timing was shocking. The message was wrong. It came across as triumphalist and celebrating innocent deaths, and that's always going to be wrong. So Green Brigade issues aside, you can and should support Palestine without resorting to using terminology like that at a time like that. Just for me, the drive has to be always towards awareness of the depression that's going on, but ultimately a lasting, peaceful solution. Celtic statement, as I said, it doesn't stack up. You look at Ukraine, you look at Bella Ciao on the tannoy. So is it, when it suits them? Those might be political issues that I agree with, but others might not. So what is the situation at Celtic? Like, you can do this, but you can't do that. Do we get a list of things that we can talk about and things that we can't? It's farcical. It's freedom of expression. So Celtic just can't pick and choose on that. I get that Celtic are also wary of the commercial impact on these things, but we need to be confident enough in who we are and in our brand that we can find commercial partners that aren't going to impinge on supporters being able to express themselves. That's where I am on that part.
Just in terms of that as well, without getting into a back and forth on it, you mentioned the commercial impact, and I understand Celtic have got to be sensitive to stakeholders and sponsors and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, Celtic have got a call to make as a club, as a PLC, as a body. Do they choose, dare I say, money and commercial value over ultimately doing the right thing?
I'll give you my last word on it. And the ultimate thing is, in 1968, Celtic under Bob Kelly refused to play any country in the Soviet bloc after the Soviet invasion of Prague. And Kelly said, there are things for Celtic more important than money. So where are we from then till now?
It's a big question, isn't it? And I suppose it's one that we don't have the answer for, and it's not our place to answer. And I wonder if we'll hear those answers from the club in the weeks, months, whatever ahead. Miff, just to follow on, in response to the club statement, the Green Brigade have asked supporters to fly the flag for Palestine on Wednesday night. And with the eyes of Europe and UEFA on the club, it's expected that we'll see thousands of Palestinian flags on display. They went on to reiterate their belief, as in the Green Brigade, went on to reiterate their belief that we should have the right to express political views in the stadium, and gave the recent example, as James has mentioned there, of support for Ukraine as an example of when it was deemed okay to do so. Yet it's not okay to do so now. I'm not looking to put you on the spot in terms of your own thoughts and political beliefs, regarding the conflict. But do you think that political expression should be allowed in Celtic Park, should someone want to do so?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do. And just to touch on, James was quite right to point out there, it seems to suit the club at times to piggyback on some political sentiment when it's for their gain. Let the people sing gets played, for those who are oppressed, in Song You Can Protest. That gets played before every single game. And I don't think there's anyone, whatever side of the fence you're on in the whole debate in the Middle East, there's nobody can say that the people of Palestine aren't oppressed. So, any voice that they get is no doubt of great comfort to them. It's a very, very, very complex issue, and I know a vast swathe of Celtic fans who are really, really pro Palestine and these matters, and who are actually fairly well versed on the intricacies of the war and the ongoing dispute. But there are also a number of Celtic fans who I know who don't really want to partake in it, who really, when they go to Celtic Park, they just want to go and watch Celtic. So, to answer your question, yes, I believe political expression should be allowed. I don't think you can pick and choose. I think that's just part of a free society, to be honest with you, and ultimately that's what we live in. That's what we are proud to display ourselves as in Britain and Scotland. So therefore, the answer to the question that I was asked is absolutely yes. But I think that the issue has got the real potential to become divisive, not just between the board and the Green Brigade, but also in terms of Celtic fans and how they view their matchday experience and what they look to get out of their matchday experience. Again, that will only come further down the line the longer the conflict goes on and any to and fro between fan groups and the board go on, because that in itself will see people splinter off into I back them. But as an absolute fundamental principle based in the ethos of Celtic as a club, yes, you should be able to politically protest inside Celtic Park, same as you should be outside Celtic Park.
Yeah, and I think at this moment in time, it feels like a club v Green Brigade issue, but actually, James, it's a wider thing. It's a club versus any supporter who wants to show freedom of expression. And I listened to the podcast that Graham Spears done on it, and I thought it was excellent, actually, and I thought there was real good information and a bit of education, certainly for myself. And there was one speaker, fella Liam, who was very good, and he spoke about the fact that Celtic supporters supporting the people of Palestine predates the Green Brigade, even before the Green Brigade were in operation. So it shouldn't just be painted as the club v Green Brigade. I think it's a wider issue, and it's a complex one. Listen, the bigger picture in the Middle East is very complex, but this in itself, between Celtic and its fan base, it also has its complexities. And I'm not saying we have the answers, and I'm not trying to simplify it, but there is a lot at play, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's also the Green Brigade become that lightning rod for issues, and it's like, well, we'll just charge it down with them, whether it was them that did it or not, kind of thing. Including fan misbehaviour. That's the Green Brigade. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. That's not something I've got the definitive answer to. But this is something that I would say, yeah, broadly, the Celtic fans do support, and I certainly do myself. But Celtic isn't a homogenous political entity. My own crowd ranges from communist, I know, to social conservative and all the way through. So it's difficult to be able to say we will all agree on this, because that's just not how the world works. But what you have to be able to do is peacefully display your protest and peacefully debate it if you want, but it's got to stop at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, what's going on just now between Palestine and Israel is a tragedy, no matter what way you look at it. And the only hope is that at some point in the very near future, a peaceful solution can be found. In the meantime, though, peaceful, non-violent protest is a right that Celtic fans and others should have available to them. James Smith, thanks to you both for your comments on what I know is a very sensitive subject, and not one that any of us here have approached lightly.